Hi everyone, today we're going to spend some time to learn how to do a research on your dashboard. The reason for this is as you progress in your academic careers and in your math careers, there are going to be times when you are required to do a research in higher level math classes, and so this is an important skill for you to learn now. In order for you to do a research, generally on your dashboard, you will see N1 research, N2 research, or whatever. So in this case, I'm going to use N1 research 1 as an example. You just click on the link, and the link takes you to the research. The first thing you want to do when you get here is you're going to make a copy. So you'll click on File, make a copy of the research document, and you're going to change the name by giving it your name. So I'm giving it Thomas, N1 Research 1, okay it. And now you have a copy of the document that is your own. Generally, a research of this type requires you to do 6 different things, and I'm going to talk you through what each means. In order to find what you're researching, you're going to look for the topic of the research. And the topic of this research is perimeter. So your research is going to be about perimeter. Now, the first thing that you want to do is, for the search, is what was the search query question that you typed in. So since this research is about perimeter, you may want to go back and think about on the dashboard, well, what did I learn about perimeter before, or if I haven't learned it yet, what will I be learning about? And so if we're looking here, it's perimeter of different shapes, rectangles are mentioned, and area. So what you could do is decide what your query question is going to be. And so, for example, your query question could be, well, how do I calculate perimeter? Or, what is perimeter? Once you've completed that, you're also going to be required to explain why you wrote the query question the way you did, what motivated you to use that particular query question. So your explanation could be, well, I was unsure of what perimeter meant and I wanted to know the meaning of the word perimeter, or I was interested in learning how to calculate the perimeter of all different types of geometric shapes. Once you've done your explanation, the third thing you're required to do is to use 3 different modes of researching on the topic. You're required to find 1 video on the topic, a reading on the topic, as well as an interactive learning object on the topic that either allows you to play a game or drag and drop stuff on that particular concept. Fourthly, you're then going to talk about the reasons you chose each of those modes of research. So for example, you may say, well, I chose a canned video on perimeter because I liked how canned videos use visuals and their explanation is really cool. Or you could say, I chose a reading source that I used because they did an extremely good job in explaining the concept of perimeter, and they had a lot of illustrations. The 5th thing you'll be required to do is to write a couple sentences summarizing what you learned from each mode of research. So what did you learn from watching the video? What did you learn from doing the reading? And what did you learn by doing the interactive learning object as you did your research? And finally, you're expected to say which of those things you found most helpful and why. Why was it helpful to you? And you'd have completed the 6th thing. Finally, you're expected to link and cite the resources that you used for the topic. And so, as I said before, in your English classes, you might have been familiar with what it means to cite a resource or an author. If you're unsure of that, you can use a research guide here. And by clicking on the research guide, it takes you to what it means to do a citation. They generally recommend the MLA style of citation. And what you would do is, because your documents are electronic or web-based, you would click on electronic sources, and you may want to cite just the URL for a web page that was used, or you may want to cite the entire website based on what was done. Pay attention to all the important parts of your citation and what you need to do in order to cite the web page or the website accurately. So remember, the last part of what you need to do if you want to cite a web page, here's what you do. If you want to cite a website, pay attention to what needs to be done, and you need to link each of the resources to your research. I hope this was pretty helpful for you, and you will do your first research pretty soon. Thank you for listening.